You feel it as a kind of weather system moving through you, a sudden wave of anxiety in a calm room, a heavy blanket of sadness on a perfectly fine day. You have learned to live with these unexplained emotional storms, believing they are your own. You pride yourself on your empathy, your ability to feel what others feel. You see it as your greatest gift, your superpower. But what if I told you that your greatest gift might also be your most sophisticated form of self-sabotage? What if the very thing you believe makes you a good person is secretly erasing you? This is the dangerous shadow side of empathy that Carl Jung warned us about. He understood that for the deeply sensitive soul, there is a treacherous line between compassion and consumption, between witnessing another's pain and becoming another's pain. He called this state unconscious identity, a kind of psychological dissolving where the boundaries of the self become so porous that you no longer know where you end and another person begins. And in this state, your authenticity is the first casualty. Your own feelings, your own needs, your own inner truth become whispers drowned out by the screams of the world around you. Today, we are going to explore this profound and critical distinction. We will unmask how your empathy, when unchecked, can become a trauma response in disguise. We will learn to identify when you are borrowing emotions that do not belong to you. And I will offer you a path back to yourself, a way to care deeply for others without sacrificing the sacred ground of your own soul. It is time to learn how to be a lighthouse instead of a sponge.
There is a profound difference between caring for someone and carrying them. The empath, in their purest form, is a compassionate witness. But the empath without boundaries becomes a human sponge. And the hidden cost of being a sponge is that you eventually become saturated with a toxicity that is not your own. You absorb the anxieties of your partner, the frustrations of your colleagues, the grief of a friend, until their emotional weather systems become your climate. You wake up in the morning feeling a free-floating dread, and you cannot trace its origin. Because its origin is not in your life, it is in the emotional residue you have absorbed from the lives of others. This is the state of emotional dissolution, and it is exhausting. Because not only are you carrying the weight of your own life, you are unconsciously carrying the emotional baggage of everyone you care about. This is not a sustainable way to live. It is a direct path to burnout, anxiety, and a confusing loss of self. Let's be with Jessica. She is a 40-year-old teacher, the kind of teacher students remember for a lifetime because she cares so deeply. One of her students, a quiet boy named Leo, is going through a difficult time at home. Jessica can feel his sadness as if it were a physical presence in the room. During their conversations, she listens with her whole being. She offers comfort. She validates his feelings. She is being a wonderful, compassionate teacher. But when the school day ends, Leo's sadness does not stay in the classroom. Jessica carries it home with her. She finds herself thinking about him while she's making dinner. She feels a knot of worry in her stomach. That night, she has trouble sleeping. A heavy, undefined sadness presses down on her. Her husband asks her what's wrong. She says, "I don't know. I just feel down." But the sadness is not hers. It is Leo's. She has absorbed it so completely that she has mistaken it for her own emotion. The boundary between her and him has dissolved. And while her intention was to help, her absorption has made her less effective. She is now tired, anxious, and emotionally depleted. She has less capacity to be present for her own family, and ultimately less capacity to be the strong, stable anchor that Leo actually needs. Her empathy, her greatest virtue, has become a liability. So why do we do this? Why do we allow our boundaries to become so porous? This is where the shadow work begins. This is where we look beneath the beautiful story of being a caring person and find the deeper, often trauma-informed reasons. For many empaths, this hyper-attunement to the feelings of others was not a choice. It was a survival skill learned in childhood. If you grew up in an environment with a volatile or emotionally unpredictable parent, you learned very quickly to become an expert emotional detective. Your safety depended on your ability to read the subtle shifts in the room, to anticipate a parent's mood before it exploded, to know what they needed before they asked. You learned to feel their feelings as a way to protect yourself. This is a brilliant adaptation of a child. But in an adult, this outdated survival program becomes a prison. The world is no longer that dangerous, unpredictable home. But your nervous system is still running the old software. It is still scanning every room for emotional threats. It is still absorbing the feelings of others as a way to manage them. This is what Carl Jung meant by the shadow of a virtue. The unconscious, unhealed motivation that can hide behind a beautiful quality. The shadow of your empathy may be the terrified child within you who still believes on a cellular level that their survival depends on managing the emotional states of everyone around them. So you are not just feeling for others, you are working. You are performing a constant, invisible, and utterly exhausting job of emotional surveillance. And the burnout you feel is your psychic paycheck for a job you never consciously applied for. It is a profound sign that it is time to finally, lovingly let that child off the hook.
To heal, we must first learn to see clearly. And the world of empathy is often a murky, confusing landscape. We have been taught to lump all forms of feeling for others under one virtuous umbrella. But this is a dangerous oversimplification. To reclaim our own soul, we must become connoisseurs of connection. We must learn to distinguish between the different ways we relate to the emotional worlds of others. The most primal and often most problematic form is what psychologists call emotional contagion. This is not empathy, it is an infection. It is when you walk into a room where someone is anxious and suddenly you feel anxious with no reason of your own. You have caught their emotional state like a virus. This is a purely unconscious biological process. It happens in crowds, in families, in offices. It is the shadow side of our herd animal nature. For the person whose boundaries are porous, emotional contagion is a constant state of being. They are a walking petri dish for the anxieties of the world. A step above this is sympathy. Sympathy is when you feel for someone. I am so sorry for your loss. There is a distance. You are on the bank of the river, looking at them struggling in the current. You feel compassion, but you are not in the water with them. Sympathy is safe, but it is not always deeply connecting. Then there is the state most of us call empathy, but which is more accurately called emotional empathy or affective empathy. This is when you feel with someone. You are not just on the riverbank, you have jumped into the water with them. You are feeling the cold, the current, the fear. This is where Jessica, our teacher, was living. She was in the water with her student Leo. This can be a beautiful, profoundly connecting experience. But if you do not know how to swim, you will both drown. If you do not have a strong sense of your own self,
You will become so enmeshed in their feeling state that you lose the capacity to actually help. You become another victim. And this brings us to the goal, the highest form of this gift, compassionate empathy, or what we can call witnessing presence. This is the ability to sit with someone on the bank of their river of grief, to understand the temperature of the water without having to jump in, to say with your whole being, I see you in this river. I am not leaving. I will hold the light for you while you find your way to the shore. In this state, you are not absorbing their pain. You are honoring it. You are not trying to fix them. You are trusting their strength. You are the lighthouse, stable, grounded, a source of unwavering light that is not diminished by the storm it illuminates. This is the work, to move from being the sponge to being the lighthouse. So how do we begin this profound shift? We begin by building the container, by creating an energetic boundary that allows us to feel without becoming. This is a core practice in shadow work, as it requires us to honor the reality of our own separateness, a concept Carl Jung saw as essential for psychological health. I am going to guide you through a simple, powerful visualization. Let's call it the energetic boundary. You can do this in the morning before you start your day, or in your car for 30 seconds before walking into a difficult meeting. So if it is safe for you to do so, I invite you to close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in and a long sigh out. Now bring your awareness to the center of your chest and imagine in your heart space a small, steady, golden flame. This flame is your core, your authentic self, your soul's truth. It is warm and calm and unwavering. Now, as you breathe in, imagine that flame growing brighter, expanding outward. With each inhale, it grows until it forms a beautiful, permeable sphere of golden light all around you, about an arm's length in every direction. This is your sacred space, your energetic boundary. Now set the intention for this sphere. This sphere of light is intelligent. It allows your own love, your own compassion, your own kindness to flow outward freely, but it is a one-way filter. The emotions of others, their anxiety, their anger, their fear, can come to the surface of your golden light. You can perceive them, you can understand them, but they cannot enter. They touch the surface of your golden light and they are neutralized. They dissolve. You remain in your own center, grounded in your own calm flame. You are in the world, but you are also in your own home. Take one more deep breath, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. This is not a wall of steel. It is a boundary of light. It is not an act of aggression. It is an act of self-preservation. By practicing this, you are not becoming less caring. You are becoming a more effective caregiver. You are ensuring that when you offer help, you are offering it from a full well, not from an empty, contaminated one. This is the first step, to move from being the sponge to being the lighthouse.
The practice of the energetic boundary is not about building a wall. It is about remembering the integrity of your own shoreline. You are not the ocean. You are the land. You can welcome the waves of another's emotion. You can feel their power and witness their beauty without allowing yourself to be eroded by them.
This shift from being the sponge to being the lighthouse is one of the most profound acts of self-love an empath can undertake. It is a declaration that your own emotional well-being matters, that you cannot pour from an empty cup, and that your greatest service to the world is not to dissolve into its pain, but to hold your own light steady within it. Let's return to Jessica, our compassionate teacher. She has been practicing the visualization of the golden sphere. At first, it feels artificial, a mental trick, but she persists. Before school each day, she takes 2 minutes in her car to breathe and establish her boundary of light. A few days later, she has another conversation with her student, Leo. He shares another painful story from home. The old Jessica would have felt his sadness enter her body like a cold front. She would have felt her own heart ache, her own stomach clench. She would have become the sadness. But the Jessica who has been practicing has a different experience. She listens with the same deep, unwavering attention. She feels a profound wave of compassion for him. Her heart is open. But there is a difference. She can feel the boundary of her golden light. She can feel his sadness, but she also, simultaneously, feels her own center, her own calm, steady flame. His sadness is a storm, but she is the lighthouse. She is not tossed about by his waves. She is a stable point of light, illuminating his struggle without getting lost in it. After their conversation, she is able to offer him concrete, practical help. She connects him with the school counselor. She follows up with the administration. She is able to act because she is not paralyzed by absorption. When she goes home that night, she feels for Leo. She is concerned, but she does not feel his sadness as her own. She is able to be fully present with her husband. She laughs at a joke he tells. She sleeps soundly. She has learned the art of compassionate detachment. She has learned to care without carrying. Her empathy has not been diminished. It has been focused. It has been strengthened. It has transformed from a liability that drained her into a tool that empowers both her and the people she serves. This is the essence of this profound shadow work for the empath. It is a journey of integration. Carl Jung taught that to be whole, we must hold the tension of the opposites. For the empath, the opposites are connection and separateness. The trap is to believe you must choose one or the other, to believe that to be separate is to be selfish, or that to be connected is to be dissolved. The path to wholeness is to learn to be both at the same time. To be deeply connected to another human being while remaining unshakably connected to yourself. This is a skill. It requires practice. It requires the courage to constantly ask the question, is this emotion mine? To pause, to place a hand on your heart, and to check in. To learn the unique energetic signature of your own feelings versus the feelings you have borrowed from the room. This is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of profound integrity. It is the ultimate respect you can pay to another person, to see their emotional journey as their own, and to trust in their capacity to navigate it with your compassionate support, but not with your interference. You are not here to rescue anyone. You are here to hold the light. And you cannot hold the light for others if your own flame has been extinguished by the storms you have needlessly taken on as your own. So guard your flame. Nourish it. Honor it. It is your most sacred gift to yourself and to the world.
Today, we have walked a fine, sacred line,
the line between feeling for and becoming. We have unmasked the shadow side of a beautiful virtue, revealing how unchecked empathy can become a form of self-sabotage, a trauma response that keeps us trapped in the emotional weather systems of others. We have learned that the exhaustion of the empath is not the price of caring. It is the cost of carrying what was never ours to carry. But we did not leave ourselves in the diagnosis of this painful paradox. We stepped into the practice of empowerment. Guided by the wisdom of Carl Jung, we have learned to distinguish between the chaotic waters of emotional contagion and the clear, steady light of witnessing presence. We have been given a tool, the energetic boundary, a visualization to help us build a container for our compassion so that we can be a lighthouse, not a sponge. And we have seen through Jessica that this is not an act of becoming cold or distant. It is an act of becoming more effective, more present, and more whole. It is the highest form of care. The journey of the empath is a core part of the greater journey of shadow work. It is the process of reclaiming your own emotional sovereignty, of learning that your first responsibility is to the sacred ground of your own soul. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You are invited to become so rooted in your own light, so steady in your own flame, that your very presence becomes a source of warmth and guidance for those who are lost in the storm. This is your true gift. This is your authentic power. As you begin to practice this compassionate detachment, as you learn to hold your own center while holding space for others, you may notice a new, subtle internal conflict arising. You will be choosing yourself more, honoring your own energy. And the part of you that has built its identity on being the good person, the selfless helper, the one who never disappoints, will begin to protest. It will call you selfish. It will whisper words of guilt. This brings us to the very heart of the shadow for so many of us who care deeply, the shadow of the good person. What is the hidden cost of constantly striving for moral perfection, and how does this relentless pursuit of goodness secretly sabotage our path to wholeness? That is the profound and deeply liberating unmasking we will undertake in our next conversation. For this week, your invitation is to become a gentle guardian of your own energy. The next time you feel that familiar pull, that urge to jump into the emotional river with someone, I invite you to pause. Take one deep breath and practice visualizing your golden sphere of light. To make this sacred intention real, to commit to the practice of caring without carrying, I invite you to declare it in the comments below. Simply write, "I am the lighthouse." By doing so, you join a global fleet of souls who are learning to shine their own unique light, not by drowning in the ocean of the world's pain, but by offering a steady, unwavering beacon of hope from the safety of their own shore.